All right, welcome back out to Denmark Drone Park. Well, we do have a newly built Develop Air with us. We did not quite get it built in time to do testing with the other half of the person that helped me build it. We also have a Develop Air Mini that we've been flight testing. That's actually in this case right here. And if you watch our most recent video, you will have seen we had some radio connection problems. Those have since been identified and fixed at the office. Thank you, Mon, for coming in earlier today to help fix those issues. And it looked like it was just a antenna where the cable basically got frayed and came off. And so it was making contact, but not a solid contact. So we're going to go ahead and set this Develop Air Mini out. We are going to use the iVue RoboControl app, which I'm sharing my screen right here. You can also see just pulled up on my laptop. You go to worldsiVue.com to access the iVue RoboControl app down in the bottom dock. I'll make this full screen just for ease of viewing. And then we have our Radio Master Boxer controller as well. So this is actually going to be what's sending and receiving information from the Develop Air. But just connecting and giving us a nice interface through the iVue RoboControl app. So before we boot on the Develop Air Mini, we'll boot on the controller, just holding down the power button. And then you'll get the Edge TX welcome warning or greeting message. And you should be all set to go. We'll take the props out with us. We should be able to take off on like one smooth motion after we get these props on. All right, I'll boot her up. And prop one, nice and easy. Prop 2 should be the same. Prop 3. Nice and easy. And lastly, prop 4. All right. Just heard some message from the controller. Not exactly sure what that was, but it's probably something like GPS home point acquired. And that looks like it could very well be the case. Just put Develop Air Mini into loiter flight mode ahead of opening up the iVue RoboControl app. So when we select Add Drone, connect to drone, it's still working as it did yesterday. We should get all of the telemetry information coming through. Look at that. We have a green flashing light on the back of our controller, which means we have not just a good connection from the Develop Air Mini back to this controller, but also a good Bluetooth connection as well. But the actual green light itself is indicating the telemetry connection, not the Bluetooth connection. But as you can see here, we're connected to 19 satellites, 99% battery, and just under 16 volts, so not a fully charged battery. You can see we're also in loiter flight mode. Now, if you want to fly with like altitude hold flight mode or stabilized flight mode, we do have a drone modes menu as well. But if you're not really familiar with what all these modes are, chances are you don't want to use any of them. So we're going to exit out of that menu for the time being, zoom into Develop Air Mini's location on the map, and we should just be able to fly drone, arm and fly drone, have it take off to 10 feet.
Motors armed. Guided flight mode.
Wow, look at that. Have you ever seen a drone that easy to fly, ladies and gentlemen? If you have, it was probably a DJI, but if you haven't, what more could you ask for? So now we have Develop Air Mini off the ground. We could continue to have it fly by itself if we were to upload a Waypoint mission, or we could just take over the with the controller. Now you can either press a button on the controller if we can get the video back on me. Developer menu is just going to continue to hover there. So we have all of these buttons set up on the controller to switch flight modes, or using that flight mode screen I was just showing off here, you could switch the flight modes, or the most common flight modes that you'll be using, like loiter flight mode, you can just select, and now the controller will say loiter flight mode to give you an audible indication the mode switch was successful. And now you can see developer menu is still just hovering there by and large in place. It might be drifting a little bit up or down depending on how well your throttle stick is centered. But again, just using the GPS to just hold its position nice and stable like. At least from my position, you could also see developer mini's battery status lights going from yellow to red. And so it will actually change from then red to flashing red. If the battery level gets too low, it'll automatically trigger a landing. But as you can see, really about as easy as it gets to fly developer mini using the iVue RoboControl app. And now that we fixed that antenna that was causing radio connection issues yesterday, you could see even at quite some distance, you know, having no real issues. So, or really any issues, not just no real issues. But now that we have developer mini up in the air, we have it just hovering in place in loiter flight mode. I am going to see if the Waypoint missions work as they should. So opening up the mission screen, adding a mission, selecting drone 1 as the drone I'm adding the mission to. And now I can just select anywhere on the map I would like to have developer mini fly to. And let's say we'll have it fly up to an altitude of 50 feet. And then we'll have it fly around that tree completely at an altitude of 50 feet. So as we saw yesterday, developer will start going to its first waypoint before it actually reaches the set altitude. So just make sure that whatever altitude that you set is going to be high enough to avoid any obstacles on the way to that first waypoint. And so we should be basically making close to a square, or rectangle, or really more like a pentagon around the tree. We'll call it Penta-Mission. No devil worshipping here, folks. All right, Penta-Mission, and then upload mission to drone.
Flight plan received.
The controller gave us a flight plan received indication saying it was successful. And now we can go back to the drones menu, and we should be able to just start waypoint mission here. Must arm drone before starting mission. So clearly developer mini is already armed, so there is an error with being able to start the waypoint mission. Let me try again. All right, so again, have a problem there. Let me go ahead and land developer mini. I'm going to land developer mini manually here, or you know what? I'm gonna scratch that. I just took my hand off the controller, off the throttle stick, and now as you'll see on the computer, I just hit land. The controller did respond saying it's now in land flight mode, and developer mini is just gently coming down nice and easy.
Motors disarmed.
All right, so now if we were to arm drone, we get an error while sending command. That might be because we're in land flight mode. I'm going to now put us into loiter flight mode.
Loiter flight mode.
I'm going to try arm again.
Motors armed.
And then start waypoint mission.
Auto flight mode.
All right. So now developer mini is starting an automated mission. It should work just like it is now if you were in an automated, or sorry, if you were already in flight. However, there is clearly some bug that did not allow it to start the mission while it's already in flight. So we'll have that sorted, if not in the next update of the iVue RC app, the next one following, almost for certain. All right, so Developer Mini just completed
6.
a completely automated mission. Now we could have set a landing command as part of the mission, but here again I can either land manually with the controller or just press land.
Land flight mode.
And here Developer Mini comes down all by itself for an automated landing. So once Developer Mini reaches a certain altitude, it will actually slow down its descent speed automatically. And now all of that's configurable. So if this is too slow for your liking, right now you have to use Q ground control or mission planner to configure the landing speed. But if you can't find out how to do so, feel free to reach out and we'll be more than happy to help as we can.
Motors disarmed.
Exactly what you want to see, a prop just flying off post-landing, but if that's the worst problem that you have flying a Developer Mini, like to think you have no real problems. Like I mentioned, if we take a look back over here, we have another Developer with us. We have that essentially ready to do some test flights, but we'll just come back out again tomorrow and you'll see this Developer take its maiden flight. And if you've been watching for a few weeks, this is actually a newly built Developer or somewhat of a rebuild from a Developer we were test flying that was continuously rotating. That had a 4-in-1 ESC. Now we've rebuilt this Developer with 4 discrete ESCs. So looked to be all fine in the office or workshop just earlier today, but ultimately we'll be back out here tomorrow and you'll be able to check out and see if it works as it should then. So that's it for this video. You'll catch us in the next one. Thanks.